The crunch of metal and the scream of my own voice fading into darkness were my final memories from 2023. But when my eyes snapped open to the sound of distant jazz horns floating through an open window and a reflection staring back that wasn't mine, I realized I'd been handed the impossible. A second chance in New Orleans, 1997, with every regret about the man I let slip away burning fresh in my soul. My hand shook as I touched the smooth, unfamiliar jawline in the mirror. The face looking back belonged to Chris Bennett, 22, dark brown hair cropped short, blue eyes wide with panic. Posters of Pearl Jam and a faded Saints jersey covered the walls of a cramped bedroom above a corner store on Magazine Street. A calendar read September 1997. My old life as Alex Reed, successful but hollow marketing executive who died in that rainy interstate pileup, had ended. The memories of Tyler Vance, the only man I ever truly loved, crashed over me like the Mississippi at flood stage. In that other timeline, we met in 2012, hid our relationship from everyone, and I let family pressure and fear tear us apart. Tyler walked away broken. I spent the next decade drowning in what-ifs until the crash. Now, I was Chris, and somehow the universe had dropped me here before any of it happened. My heart hammered. I had to find him. I had to do it right this time. Footsteps creaked on the stairs. "Chris, you up? Breakfast is getting cold." A woman's voice called, my new mother, I guessed. I pulled on a pair of baggy jeans and a faded Tulane t-shirt from the dresser, the cotton soft and real against skin that wasn't mine. Downstairs, a small kitchen smelled of coffee and bacon. A sturdy man in his 50s, Dad, sat at the table reading the Times-Picayune. Mom, apron tied tight, slid a plate toward me. My younger sister, 16-year-old Emily, grinned over her cereal. "Late nights studying again?" Dad asked without looking up. "You got that pre-law exam coming. Don't blow it like last semester." I forced a smile, the words foreign on my tongue. "Yeah, just weird dreams." Inside, panic swirled. These people loved Chris. They expected him to become the lawyer who would make the family proud, marry a nice girl, carry on the Bennett name in their tight-knit Irish Channel neighborhood. Coming out here in 1997 felt like stepping in front of a streetcar. But I remembered Tyler's laugh, the way his hand fit in mine, and I knew I couldn't waste this gift. After breakfast, I grabbed the keys to an old blue pickup and drove toward the French Quarter, windows down, warm September air thick with magnolia and river mud. Tulane's campus buzzed with students in flannel and Doc Martens. I parked and wandered, pretending to know where I was going, until I spotted the small coffee shop on St. Charles where my memories told me Tyler would be. My pulse thundered. Would he even exist yet? The bell above the door jingled. Behind the counter, wiping mugs, stood a 21-year-old with tousled light brown hair, green eyes that had once looked at me with love and later with heartbreak. Tyler Vance, barista, part-time musician, soul I'd lost once before. He glanced up, polite smile flashing. "What can I get you?" I opened my mouth, but the words caught. This was it. The moment the second chance began. "Large black, please." I managed, voice steadier than I felt. Tyler nodded and turned to the espresso machine, humming a tune I recognized from years later. His own song, one he'd never finished in my old timeline. I watched his hands move with the same gentle confidence I remembered, and something inside my chest unclenched. He was here, alive, young, and I had the power to change everything. I took the coffee and lingered at a corner table, pretending to read a crumpled copy of the student paper. Tyler wiped the counter again, then surprised me by walking over during a lull. "You look like you've seen a ghost, man. New around here. Transferred from up north." I lied smoothly, the story I'd rehearsed on the drive. "Chris Bennett, pre-law at Tulane." Tyler Vance, music major, but mostly just trying to pay rent playing gigs on Decatur. He grinned, the same crooked smile that used to make my knees weak. "You play anything?" We talked for 20 minutes about jazz clubs, the Saints' chances this season, how the quarter changed after dark. Every word felt like coming home. I kept the conversation light, terrified of scaring him off with the intensity one carried from another lifetime. When his shift ended, he slung a guitar case over his shoulder. "Heading to an open mic tonight at the Apple Barrel." You should swing by if you're free. I went. The tiny bar smelled of spilled beer and cigarette smoke. Tyler took the stage in a faded denim shirt, voice raw and beautiful as he sang about lost roads and second chances. The crowd clapped, but I sat frozen, tears stinging my eyes. This was the man I'd failed. This time I wouldn't. The next weeks blurred into a careful dance. We grabbed beignet at Café du Monde at dawn, wandered the levee watching barges slide past, shared stories that felt both new and ancient. Tyler talked about his strict Baptist family back in Baton Rouge, who barely spoke to him after he dropped out of seminary. I listened, heart aching with knowledge he didn't know I possessed. My own family dinners grew tense. Dad kept pushing law school applications while Mom asked not-so-subtle questions about nice girls from church. Emily, bless her, just rolled her eyes and snuck me extra pie. One humid Friday evening, Tyler invited me to his tiny apartment above a voodoo shop on Domain. We sat on the fire escape, drinking cheap wine, city lights glittering below. Sometimes I feel like I'm living someone else's life, he confessed quietly. Like there's a version of me out there who's braver. I met his eyes. Maybe you just haven't met the right person to be brave with yet. The words hung between us, electric. He didn't pull away. October brought cooler nights and the first real test. Tyler and I had fallen into an easy rhythm. Coffee runs, late-night porch talks, stolen glances that lingered too long. One Saturday we drove out to City Park, rented a paddle boat, and laughed until our sides hurt as we spun in lazy circles on the lagoon. When we docked, his hand brushed mine. Neither of us moved it away. That night at his place, we sat shoulder to shoulder on the worn couch listening to a mixtape he'd made. "Chris," he said softly, "I don't know what this is, but it feels right. Like I've known you forever." My throat tightened. I wanted to tell him everything. The crash, the regrets, the life I'd lived without him. Instead, I cupped his face and kissed him for the first time in this body. The world narrowed to the taste of coffee and hope on his lips. We didn't rush. We held each other like the gift we both sensed but couldn't name. Monday morning reality crashed in. My roommate from Tulane, Jake, a loud, good-hearted business major, caught me leaving Tyler's building at dawn. "Dude, you crashing with that guitar guy now?" He laughed it off, but his eyes narrowed just a fraction. By Wednesday, the whispers started in the dorm lounge. Bennett's spending a lot of time in the quarter. You know what they say about those music types. I ignored it until Dad called. "Son, your mother heard some talk at the grocery. Said you were seen with a boy. That true?" His voice was steel. I lied, said it was just a study partner. The lie tasted like ash. Tyler noticed my distraction during our next coffee date. "You're pulling away. Did I do something?" "No," I said quickly, taking his hand under the table. "Just family stuff. I'm handling it." But fear coiled in my gut. 1997 New Orleans still carried the shadow of the AIDS crisis. Don't ask, don't tell was fresh law. One wrong move, and everything could shatter. We tried to keep it quiet. Stolen kisses in the shadows of Jackson Square. Whispered promises on midnight walks along the river. Yet every secret glance at Tyler reminded me why I'd been sent back. I wouldn't let prejudice steal him again. Thanksgiving hit like a hurricane. Mom insisted the whole family gather at Aunt Lorraine's in Metairie. Tyler had nowhere to go. His parents still hadn't forgiven his lifestyle. On impulse, I invited him. "Just as a friend," I said. "They'll love you." The lie sat heavy between us. Dinner started fine. Turkey, cornbread stuffing, football on TV. Then Uncle Ray asked, "So, Chris, when you bringing home a nice girl? Your daddy says you're top of the class. Plenty of time for courting." Tyler's fork paused. I felt his knee press against mine under the table in silent support. Later, while the men smoked on the porch, Dad cornered me. "That boy you brought, he family. He's important to me," I answered, heart racing. Dad's face hardened. "Important how? People talk, Chris. This ain't California. You got a future to think about. Law school, a wife, kids. Don't throw it away on some phase." I walked away shaking. Inside the house, Tyler helped Mom with dishes, charming her with stories about playing trumpet in second-line parades. She laughed, unaware. But Emily pulled me aside later. "I see how you look at him. It's okay, you know. I won't tell." Her quiet acceptance cracked something open in me. That night, Tyler and I drove back in silence until he spoke. I can't keep being your secret forever. It hurts too much. I pulled over on the levee, engine idling. Then let's stop hiding. I choose you, whatever it costs. The words felt like jumping off a cliff. Tyler searched my eyes, then kissed me fiercely under the moonlight. The next week, I came out to my parents in the living room. Dad turned purple. Get out of my house. Mom cried. Emily hugged me tight as I packed a duffel. I moved into Tyler's tiny apartment that same night. The freedom tasted bittersweet. Winter brought colder winds and sharper tests. Jake, my old roommate, had apparently told half the campus. Flyers with slurs appeared on my old dorm door. Someone keyed the word fag into the side of my truck. Tyler lost a regular gig when the bar owner heard rumors. Can't have that crowd in here, the man muttered. We leaned on each other harder. Tyler wrote new songs about us. Raw, hopeful ballads he played only for me on the fire escape. I dropped pre-law and switched to English, chasing a dream I'd buried in my first life. Nights were spent talking until dawn about the future we wanted, a little house somewhere quieter, maybe adopt kids someday when the world caught up. Then came the betrayal. Jake showed up at the coffee shop drunk one Friday, yelling that I'd turned Tyler and ruined my family. Tyler stepped between us. Leave him alone. Jake swung. I took the punch, blood blooming on my lip. The cops came, but the damage was done. Photos ended up in the student paper. Dad called once more. You made your choice. Don't come crawling back. The lowest point hit in February. Tyler's mother phoned from Baton Rouge, sobbing that his father had a heart attack and blamed that lifestyle. Tyler wanted to go home. I drove him, heart in my throat. At the hospital, his father refused to see him. Tyler walked out broken. In the truck, he whispered, maybe they're right. Maybe we're just making everything worse. I pulled him into my arms in the parking lot. No, we're making it better. For us. For everyone who comes after. That night we sat on the levee again, city lights across the river. I told him parts of the truth. Not the reincarnation, but the depth of my certainty. I've waited lifetimes for you. I'm not letting go. He cried, then smiled. Okay, we fight together. Spring 1998 bloomed with azaleas and cautious hope. Tyler landed a steady gig at a new club on Frenchman Street that welcomed everyone. I found a part-time job at a bookstore and started writing short stories about second chances. My sister, Emily, visited secretly, bringing Mom's homemade jambalaya and quiet updates. Dad still won't say your name, but he keeps your high school trophy polished. Small cracks of light. One warm May evening, Tyler took me to the same spot in City Park where we'd paddled months earlier. He pulled out his guitar and sang the song he'd finished, the one about finding home in another man's eyes. When the last note faded, he dropped to one knee, not with a ring, but with a simple silver bracelet he'd saved for. Marry me someday, when the world lets us. Until then, wear this and know I'm yours. I slipped it on, tears blurring the Spanish moss above us. Yes, 1,000 times yes. We never had a legal wedding in 1998, but we built a life anyway. A tiny shotgun house in Bywater, Sunday brunches with chosen family, quiet nights where we planned the future we refused to let society steal. Years later, long after I'd stopped counting the days since the crash, I stood on the same levee watching the sun rise over the river. Tyler's hand was warm in mine. The regrets of my first life were gone, replaced by a love that had survived death itself. I had fixed the destiny, true or false. Second chances at love are always worth facing every prejudice and heartbreak along the way.